027. I can't believe he's actually sleeping next to me. Just 6 weeks ago, we met in the most banal of places, a graduate lecture on the use of electron microscopy and the study of plastic deformation. His smile lit up the room, and his dimples made me weak in the knees. I watched him all semester, but I was too shy to say anything. And then suddenly he appeared, after lectures, and asked if I would like to have coffee. We chatted a lot about how he spent a year in Peru teaching English as a foreign language, what an amazing experience it was, and how it just ruined his taste for American coffee. And yet here we were. He was drinking coffee at Starbucks in America. He did most of the talking, and I was grateful to him for that. I'm a sucker for small talk, especially when I'm nervous, so I enjoyed listening to him tell me all about Peru, mispronouncing one Spanish word after another with the confidence of a bullfighter. The sex was hot, the way only new sex can be. I find it hard to believe how quickly things have changed. It seems like just yesterday that I was lusting after him from afar and lamenting the fact that I would never be able to muster up the courage to approach him. And now we are together in his bed. He is fast asleep with his hand on my side. His hair, tousled from sex, sticks out in all directions. And somehow it makes him even more adorable. He looks so cozy under that lush duvet. He is completely satisfied. He doesn't care about anything in the world. And he snores. He snores loudly. 0033. I didn't intend to stay the night. I am for everything to be as usual. If I'm going to make a name for myself in this curriculum, I don't have time for anything serious. But I've always had problems avoiding conflict. I run away from even slightly uncomfortable conversations like the plague. It's kind of my kryptonite. If I order a medium rare steak and it's served well done, I'll eat around the edges and say, I'm not that hungry, just so I don't have to ask the waiter to take it back. If someone isn't invested in a group project, I'd rather do the extra work myself than talk to a lazy slacker about trying harder. I am a pathological people pleaser. This sucks. So when Brad asked me to come to his house to study for tomorrow's exam, I agreed, even though I wanted to stay home and do the review on my own. In truth, he needed more help. And, as stupid as it may sound, I felt somewhat obligated, since my irresistible charms were one of the reasons he neglected his studies. So, I came. We ordered tandoori chicken and samosa, worked out a little, and had sex. Then, out of the blue, he asked me to stay the night. I can handle this, I thought to myself. I'll just say that I need to get a good night's sleep before the exam and politely decline. He will understand. Or better yet, I'll turn it into a joke. I'll tell him that I don't trust myself to keep my hands to myself, so going home is the only way to make sure we both get a good night's sleep. I'll just say no. Right now. I'll be happy to stay. God, I hate myself. 01 to 12. I close my eyes, lean back on the pillow, and do my best to drown out the noise. I also worked out last night, and I hope that finally my fatigue will take over. No. Instead, the noise coming from the hole in his face seems to get louder. It's as if his snoring is growing in strength due to my growing frustration, like a hurricane growing stronger as the warm waters of the Caribbean feed it. His one-bedroom apartment has no other sleeping options other than an old couch that is lumpy and rough. I'm thinking about putting in headphones, but my phone battery is almost dead and I don't have a charger with me. I could go back to my place, but it's snowing now and I don't want to risk driving on the roads at night. I look at his gaping fish mouth. Just a few hours ago, it had seemed so good to kiss, especially when his lips curled into a mischievous smile after he said something indecent. Now, with eyes closed and muscles relaxed, those same lips resemble the edge of a wet, gurgling tar pit spewing toxic fumes. A normal person would wake him up, tell him he was snoring, and ask him to try a different position. I'm not an ordinary person. The thought of such a simple conversation fills me with horror. I have a million reasons, and they're all stupid. I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want to seem too demanding. I don't want to seem selfish for disturbing his peace before the exam. It's just a nightmare. In fact, a nightmare would be preferable. At least it would be in a dream. 01:54. My plan is simple. Wake him up so I can sleep. Once I fall asleep, I sleep pretty soundly, and I don't think his snoring will bother me. The trick is to stop his snoring and then get to sleep before he starts snoring again. I start with a cough. I'm quiet at first, but I get louder and louder until eventually I feel like I might damage my vocal cords. He didn't even move. To make matters worse, now I'm not sleepy at all, and my throat hurts. I switched to kicking his shin. His leg is heavy, and it barely moves. I kick harder. Nothing. Now I stare at him, hoping that the heat from my seething gaze will be enough to wake him. Doesn't add up. He snores happily. I press the nail of my middle finger to the pad of my thumb and slowly bring it up to his face. I feel his hot breath on my wrist. I take aim, making sure I lined everything up correctly, then flick him hard on the tip of his nose. The snoring stops. I put my hand under the pillow, close my eyes, and pretend to be asleep. I feel his weight shift on the mattress, and I open my eyes wide enough to see him sitting up, rubbing his nose, a confused look on his face. Now I have a chance. I settle into the mattress, wanting to sink into its soft depths. I focus on the comfortable weight of the blanket above me and the cool touch of the pillow against my cheek. It's perfect. Just as I feel myself slipping into unconsciousness, his weight shifts again, and he falls back. As his body calms down, mine becomes restless. My brain is already anticipating this terrible sound. I feel this great opportunity slipping away. I have to go to sleep. Now. Right now. But no, 0238. I've always been fascinated by how things change under stress. Right now, every snorting, ragged breath he takes increases the tension in my body. I feel myself being stretched. I need to relieve tension. If this continues, I'll lose my temper. But I have a plan. I roll onto my back, close my eyes, and try to remember our recent sex, the lust in his eyes and the pleasure we felt. Excited. I turn on my side and do everything to get him excited. I watch his face. He's still asleep, but the snoring has stopped, and suddenly his eyes open. He looks at me, and I give him my most seductive smile. That's all it takes. He pulls me towards him and presses his lips to mine. His hands are in my hair. His kiss is hot and needy. Our sex is in full swing. I feel it will grow wool, and I'm about to reach the finish line. I see the lust in his eyes that look like he wants to devour me, and I know he's almost there. I move desperately, racing after him to the finish line, but he is ahead of me. I lean in and kiss him insistently, but he's completely exhausted and only slightly interested in kissing me back. It's useless. Sorry, I couldn't resist. You're just so sexy. It's okay, I lied. Have you reached the finish line? Well, that was really nice, but maybe you could help me. I'd love to, baby, but I'm just so tired. If it weren't for this stupid exam tomorrow, he falls silent. Maybe he notices the shock and disappointment on my face because he adds, I'll make it up to you tomorrow, okay? I promise. He kisses the top of my head and that's it. A few minutes later, we climbed back under the covers. He sleeps soundly on his back, happy and content. I need it. Relaxed and drained of all my anger and frustration, I was about to fall asleep instantly before he could even make a sound. I hate him. At least he doesn't snore. More. I close my eyes and try to calm my mind, but now my body is vibrating with unsatisfied need. Instead of relieving the tension as I had hoped, my little seduction gambit tripled it. I do not know what to do. Should I try self-care to relieve tension? Or should I write it off as a lost cause and try to force my body to sleep? My indecision drives me crazy. Time is running out, and every precious second of silence that slips away only makes me angrier. Fine. I can't sleep in this state, so I'll just hope that I have enough time to come to my senses sooner. No. Too late. 0306. If you listen long enough, you can hear the pleasant rhythm of his snoring. There is a long pause, filled with beautiful silence, just after he inhales and before he exhales. And every 10th breath or so, after the exhalation, there is a much longer pause, followed by a sudden, loud inhalation. During this long pause, he doesn't actually breathe at all. I'm pretty sure it's sleep apnea. And I think sleep apnea can be fatal. People die from this, right there in the dream. And fun fact, when they die, they no longer snore. I find myself waiting for each of these long pauses with almost childlike excitement. What if he just, well, sort of stopped breathing? Wouldn't that be great? I mean, maybe great isn't quite the right word, but it would be something. Every time I pause, I find myself repeating a simple prayer in my mind. Please stop breathing. Please stop breathing. Please stop breathing. Then he sighs and ruins everything. I really don't want him to die. I'm not a monster. I just want him to stop breathing. That's fair, right? This would be an ideal solution for a conflict-averse person like me. The problem will just sort of go away. Forever. And I won't have to risk looking like a bad guy or hurting anyone's feelings. It's a win-win. Okay, maybe there is only one side to this scenario. One side and one death. But I'll take what I can get for now. Eero 3:25. I don't remember the exact quote, but someone once said that true love means loving someone not despite their flaws, but for them. I used to think it was the most profound and romantic thing I'd ever heard. It really struck a chord with me, the idea of loving and accepting someone, just anyone, for who they are, and not just tolerating but actually nurturing their quirks and foibles. What a great idea. I wish I could remember who said it, because if I remembered that, I would go to his house right now and drag him back into that bed at gunpoint. Then I'll tie him up and make him listen to Brad snore for as long as it takes to break him. I would see it in his eyes when it happens. There would be an unspoken apology in his gaze, an acknowledgement of the staggering stupidity of the words he had once spoken, along with an urgent plea for an end to the suffering. Eero 3:41. His face makes me giggle. I'm at that weird intersection of exhaustion and despair where everything becomes funny, and right now his stupid air-sucking face is funny as hell. I'm trying so hard to suppress my laughter that the bed is shaking. How did this not wake him up? A particularly loud snort shakes his entire body like a mini-seizure, and I lose my composure. Tears are streaming down my cheeks. I cannot breathe. At some point during my fit of uncontrollable laughter, I notice a strange sound. At first I couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. Then I remember what it's called. Shion. I glance at Brad. His mouth is open, but he breathes like a normal person, not like a mountain troll. A minute passes, then 2. The lack of sound is creepy. My laughter fades as the gravity of the moment hits me. I try not to let this happen, but a trickle of hope seeps into my soul again. I relax my body on the mattress, not daring to move my limbs. My cheeks are wet from tears, but I don't wipe them away. I slow my breathing. I close my eyes. He starts snore. 03:58. Do you know what's the funniest thing? Nothing. There's nothing funny. Nothing will ever be funny again. Life is a bottomless ocean of pain followed by eternal darkness. When I was a child in church, our priest told us about the Venerable Bede. I remembered the name because it sounded so strange. Old Trouble once wrote that life here on earth is like a sparrow flying through a honey hall on a cold winter's night. Before the sparrow flies into the honey hall, it will be simply dark. Then a sparrow flies into the window and says, "Hey, warm, light, music, delicious smells. It's amazing." Before he knows it, he's out another window and plunged back into darkness. This short time inside the mead hall is life, said Trouble, and we have no idea what will happen in eternity before or after, so we must cherish it. It's a poignant metaphor, but I think it misses the mark a little. It's more like this. A sparrow flies through an open window into a cold, dark apartment and flies over the shapeless figure of some sleeping monster who makes the most disgusting noise in the world. Sparrow looks down and asks, "What the hell is this?" And he gets so distracted that he crashes into the opposite wall, breaks his neck, and falls to the floor, paralyzed but not dead. so he's forced to lie there, listening to it over and over again, snoring incessantly, immobilized and powerless to stop it until entropy and time finally conspire to end his suffering. That's life. Trouble. 4:10. My teeth feel disgusting. I always clean them before bed. Always. But I didn't plan on staying the night, which means I didn't bring a toothbrush, which means I didn't brush my teeth, which means my teeth feel fucking disgusting. Even if he stopped snoring right now, I don't think I could sleep with unclean, disgusting teeth. Maybe he has a spare toothbrush. I throw off the blanket and walk down the hall to the bathroom. I step on something sharp and cry out in pain. His belt, the same belt I tore off him this evening in happier times, lies on the floor. The prong of the buckle sticks straight up. I angrily kick him against the wall and limp towards the bathroom. Brad's snoring teases me every step of the way. Neither my cry of pain nor my abuse of his innocent belt was enough to wake him up. He's impervious to all noise, like some dozing superhero. Surprisingly, he has a spare toothbrush in a box in his bathroom, probably from a visit to the dentist. God bless. I rip the packaging, making maximum noise. I brush my teeth angrily, as if trying to punish my mouth for its constant reluctance to speak loudly and its general inability to say no to people. Take this, Gums. I need to rinse my mouth. A hard plastic cup sits on the edge of the sink. I reach for it, but accidentally push it into the sink, where it rattles and makes an amazing noise. Instinctively, I try to grab it, but in my sleepy state, all I can do is throw it off the sink and onto the tile floor where it rattles even louder, bouncing and dancing across the cold tiles like a firecracker. Instead of trying to grab him, I just smile and watch. Let's see how he sleeps through all of this. Eventually, the glass stops. Amy, are you okay? Brad's voice sounds worried. It's sweet, and I feel my anger starting to subside a little. Yes, I just knocked over a glass. Sorry. Everything is fine. He yawns. Maybe just, try to be a little quieter. Tomorrow is the exam and all that. Be quieter? My rage erupts into a blinding fireball. Did he just tell me to keep my voice down and reminded me that tomorrow is the exam? Do you have a razor? What? He asks sleepily. The bastard was almost asleep again. Razor. Do you have a razor? I repeat, drawing out and pronouncing the words as if I were talking to a child. Behind the mirror, he mutters. He doesn't even ask what it's for, which is good because I'm going to use the razor to turn the end of the toothbrush into a sharpener. Then I'll limp back into his room and stand over him with a toothbrush in my hand. I'll call his name until he wakes up, and the last thing he sees is me, smiling maniacally and foaming at the mouth with toothpaste as I plunge the pointy toothbrush straight into his neck. 04.16. My rage brings with it sudden clarity. It hits me like the cold water I sip from my cupped hands under the bathroom sink. It's my problem, not his. If I just wake him up, which I should have done a long time ago, he'll apologize and probably suggest we move to the couch or something. I'm so filled with anger that there's no room to worry about how to express it politely or how he might react. I'm going to do that. I'm going to face him. I feel a surge of delight. It empowers me to realize that I can overcome my crippling conflict avoidance problems in life by simply working myself into a murderous rage. I should write a self-help book. I walk from the bathroom back to the bedroom and shake his shoulder. Brad. You were snoring. Yes. It doesn't let me sleep all night long. Oh, sorry, he says. But there is no regret in his voice. He just says things to keep me quiet. Don't worry, he continues, yawning and rolling towards the center of the bed. You'll get used to it. You just kind of have to disconnect from it. His words trail off as he falls asleep mid-tirade. I'm thinking about going back for a toothbrush. I'm confident I can convince the jury that this was a justifiable homicide. Maybe I'll even get a cool nickname from this. 04:22. He's still alive. For today. I chickened out. I stand over him, but instead of holding the sharpener, I hold a cup of warm water as close to body temperature as possible. I know it's a shitty way to handle the situation, but I don't care. I move to my side of the bed and pull back the blanket. I place the cup on the mattress and begin pouring water about 6 inches from his crotch. The wet circle spreads outward, darkening the sheet and, through the magic of capillary action, soaking the fabric at the front of his boxers. The water is warm enough that he won't even notice. I return the cup to the bathroom, then quickly roll over to my side of the bed, where it's nice and dry. I wait a few minutes, then sit down and pull the blanket around his waist. I squint my eyes as if I were asleep and try my best to speak as if I had just woken up. "Brad? Brad?" I shake him until he moves. "Seriously?" He sighs. "What now?" There is irritation in his voice. "Why is the mattress wet?" "What? Mattress?" I pointed to the dark circle in the middle of the bed. "Wet." He sits down and pulls the blanket deeper. He looks at the wet spot and for a few moments seems completely confused. Then his gaze falls on his boxers and a look of horror appears on his face. "I don't know," he stutters. "Before, when we were you like splashing or something?" I shake my head. "No, you're a charming, smug idiot. I didn't splash or anything like that. I don't know what, I think maybe I can change the sheets," he suggests in a quiet voice. I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. "It's okay," I say. "Let's just get some sleep. We have an exam tomorrow, you know." I can tell by the look on his face that he won't be sleeping anymore tonight. A better girl than me would say she's not proud of what she did. But I'm proud. So very, very proud. Then the tension leaves my body as I roll onto my left side and close my eyes. I listen as he quietly slides out of bed and goes to the sofa. I'm not worried about any awkward conversations tomorrow because I know he won't bring it up again. Ever. Also, today is the last time I see Brad outside of class. He's hot and all, but I need to focus on my studies. I burrow into my pillow and pull the blanket up to my chin. It feels divine. I know that my conflict avoidance issues are unhealthy and need to be addressed. My friends have been telling me to see a professional for some time now. This is probably sound advice, and I might just make an appointment. But first, I think I'll sleep.